Hello, everyone. Hello. I am Felicia Houston. I am your stress less strategist. And unfortunately, this year, we are not in person. This is interesting. We've had to pivot. We are used to doing this stress less for women specifically in person. But we have to go with the times, but that doesn't mean you still can't get the information. We just can't be in person. We can't hug each other. We can't dance. We can't, talk to each other, but we can come together virtually. So that is what we're doing today. So what I'm going to do today is share some things with you guys in regards to stress less and living more. So everyone knows that we have had some type of year. Since March of 2019, we have had ups, downs, uncertainty. Things have happened that we could have never prepared for. The fact that we had a pandemic and I didn't even know what a pandemic was until it occurred. Many people have experienced stress. Stress has been at an all-time high. We've seen more people at the hospital than we've ever seen before. We've seen 3 times the amount of people that usually come to the hospital for psychiatric issues. And guess what, guys? The number one concern that people are presenting with is anxiety. Why is it anxiety? Because of the uncertainty. The fact that you don't know when this pandemic is going to end, the fact that you don't know if you're going to get sick. People are concerned about their loved ones, their family members, their children. What about e-learning? That's a whole nother session. We don't even have time for that session. But e-learning, where parents are now becoming teachers and having to learn how to help your children in the virtual space. So all of that has created lots of stress for many of us. So today we're going to have a conversation. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have a conversation about stress. And then in the end, I'm going to share some tips with you on what you can do to minimize your stress, because you can control that. You cannot control stress. We are always going to have stress. When people say, I have no stress, they're probably not telling the truth. But everyone has some level of stress, but the only thing that we can control is how we respond to the stress. So that is the conversation that we are going to have today. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling right now? 1 is your absolute worst. Like, it just doesn't get any worse than this. Okay. 10 is I'm on top of the world. It's the best I've ever been. And then you have everything in between. So take a moment and just check in with yourself. This is called a check-in. Check in with you to see how you are doing right now on a scale of 1 to 10. So I would say right now, I'm probably at about a 6. Because the weather is bad, so I think I'm at about a 6 right now. But I would suggest that you all do this daily. And if you can't do it daily, maybe do it weekly. Do it at the end of the week. Maybe you check in with yourself on a Friday just to see how are you doing. Because if you check in with yourself every Friday and you've noticed that you've been a 3, a 2, a 1, and for 4 Fridays in a row, it may be time to seek some professional help. So that's why I'm saying check in with yourself, check in with your friends, check in with your children, because you want to know how people are doing, considering we are in the midst of these unprecedented times. So how are you feeling? Okay. Again, we have been in a pandemic since March of 2019, and now it's June 2021. How has the pandemic affected you? Any stress? Anybody have any stress? I have. Okay. And if you look right here, this is a brain. And what this brain is saying is, what if? That's what most people have been thinking during this whole time and are still thinking, because we have this vaccination. Now that's created another level of stress, because people are thinking, what if I get it? What if I don't get it? What if the people on that trip are lying and said they had it and they didn't have it? What if somebody purchased a card and they really didn't get it? So people are having those what ifs. And I think the biggest question that most people are having right now is, am I okay? Because that's what we want to know. Am I okay? Is my mom okay? Are my children okay? So the pandemic affects everyone in a different way. It doesn't mean you had the virus or you didn't have the virus, but it's affected our economy. We've had civil unrest during this time. All of that creates stress for all of us. So please keep that in mind, that the one thing that I try to tell people during this time is that it's okay to not be okay, considering everything that we are going through during this pandemic. So now I have the $1 million question. What is stress? So take a moment and think about it. If you had to describe it to a kindergartner, What is stress? I know some people are coming up with their dissertation for it, but just give us a short version. What is stress? What is it to you? It's individual. So if you had to describe it, how would you describe stress? As you can see from my picture, it's pretty heavy. It's overwhelming. They're trying to hold it up. They can't. It's on their shoulders. So what is it to you? So a simple definition that I like is that stress is a response to a situation that a person perceives to be overwhelming, and that person does not think he or she can meet the demands of the situation. So stress is all about perception. So how I perceive it and how the next person perceives it is very, very different. So like I like to use an example of a plate. So when we have a plate, some people can put a whole bunch of stuff on their plate and it's stacked up high, it's leaning to the side, and they're like, I'm good. I'm not stressed at all. And then you have another person who has a plate. It's one little layer. And they're like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I can't take it. It's so much. Both of them are right, because that's about their perception. So remember that stress is a situation that a person perceives to be overwhelming, and they feel like they cannot meet the demands of the situation. So when we talk about stress, we know what it is, and everyone's definition is very different. But what are some common signs or symptoms of stress? Because if you don't know the signs and symptoms, you won't be able to recognize it. So what are some signs and symptoms of stress? Just think about it. How do you know that you are experiencing stress? It's very, very, very different for each person. So like for me, I get headaches, migraines. And so I know that I'm having a lot of stress when I get the migraine. But what's interesting is my migraine starts in the back of my neck, and then it works its way all the way up my head until it gets right here in the middle of my forehead. If I allow it to get to the middle of my forehead, it's nothing I can do about it. It lights out. I'm gonna have to go sleep for a while and just hope that it goes away. But if I catch it when it's back in the back of my neck, I can prevent it from being so extreme. I can still continue with my day and things of that sort. So that's what I'm saying. What are some signs and symptoms for you? How do you know you're experiencing stress? So I know you wanted me to tell you, so that's what I'm going to do. So stress affects us in a number of ways. So it affects us in physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, cognitive symptoms, and behavioral symptoms. So physical symptoms was like what I was just telling you guys about my headaches. That's physical. Acne, adult acne is another thing. Well, a lot of people are presenting with acne that they've never had before. Insomnia, you can't sleep because your mind, you just have so much going on. You're thinking about what if this and how come this and why didn't this? So you can't sleep. Clenching of the teeth is another one where you're grinding your teeth and things of that sort. You have irregular bowel movements, stomach aches. So all of those are just some physical symptoms. Now, cognitive symptoms are very different. That means I'm having problems concentrating. I've been reading the same paragraph in the office. I'm on the fourth time reading that same paragraph. I can't concentrate, but it's probably because you're having stress. You can't remember things. You're like, I know he asked me for something, but I don't remember what he asked me for. And your boss coming in, where's the report? Oh, that's what he asked me for, the report. Oh, okay, I'm working on it. And you still forget. But it's not that you're just being irresponsible. It could be because maybe your workplace is stressful. Maybe your boss is stressed, and then it's causing you extra stress. So think about that. Those are some things as far as cognitive symptoms. Emotional symptoms are pretty easy to see because sometimes people are feeling very overwhelmed. They may have depression. They may have a sense of isolation. They're not really optimistic. They're pessimistic about everything. I don't want to try anything new. Just leave me alone. They're not able to sleep. They're not able to just even sit still, and they just don't have any joy at all. Or they don't desire things that they used to desire. So that's how it could be affecting you emotionally. And then behaviorally, since we've been in the pandemic, we've had some people experience the COVID-15, and now we've moved up to the COVID-25, meaning we've gained weight. So you're changing your behavior. It could be you're eating more than usual, or you're not eating at all. because you're so stressed out. So again, stress affects everyone differently. Some people overeat, some people undereat, some people bite their nails, some people don't want to be around anybody. They don't want to be around people. It's like, I'm so stressed out, I just want to be by myself. And then in the workplace, guys, those are usually the people that everyone walks around on eggshells around, because they're like, you know how she is. And if you are that person, you will cause a stress for all of your coworkers because they are like, oh, here she comes. But if you're having difficulty getting along with everyone in your workspace, maybe it's something going on with you. It's not it can't possibly be everyone else. So think about that. And then another behavior is people start using alcohol and drugs. And I'm not talking about just recreationally, occasionally. I'm talking about there's an increase in the use of alcohol and drugs. Maybe you smell alcohol on them or you smell drugs on them. And so those are behavioral things. So keep in mind that stress is physical, emotional, cognitive, and behavioral. Now, did you guys know that stress could even be good? Now, I know people are like, girl, no. Child, please. That stress is not good. It's not good at all, but it is. There is a such thing as good stress. And as you can see, these guys are having an intense conversation about this because they don't understand it either. But it is a such thing as good stress. So like I said before, stress affects everyone in different ways. And the two major types of stress is good stress, which can be beneficial and motivating. So think about if you're training for a marathon, that is considered good stress because you train for all of those weeks to do that 26.2 miles. But that's considered good stress. Buying a new home, getting married, all of those are considered good stress. And then you have bad stress. And the bad stress is the type that causes anxiety. And stress can cause you health problems, guys. So if you walk around with high levels of stress, it can increase your anxiety level, but it also puts you at a higher risk for heart disease. It puts you at a higher risk of having strokes. So you do want to pay attention to that. And if you already have like asthma, allergies, or COPD, high levels of stress make all of those worse. So please, please, please try to figure out a way to reduce your stress level, because I don't want to see you in the hospital. Not in that way. I like seeing you guys here, not in the hospital. Now, in regards to stress, when I talked about good stress and bad stress, so it's positive and it's toxic. And then in the middle, there's tolerable. So positive is brief increases in your heart rate. Tolerable is serious, but it's temporary stress responses. So like if you break your ankle or something, that's considered tolerable because your ankle is going to heal on its own. And it's buffered. That type of stress is buffered by supportive relationships. But then you have that toxic relationship, that's toxic stress, which most people experience. That is prolonged activation of stress, and there is an absence of relationships. So please, please, please pay attention to the type of stress that you're having, because the reality is a lot of people are experiencing positive stress, tolerable stress, and toxic stress all at the same time, which is cumulative, and it's just weighing them down heavy. And it can cause you, like I said, to have increased heart problems, stroke, diabetes, all of that. So please pay attention to your stress level. Now, what can you do to relieve stress? I know that's the $1 million question. That's what everybody wants to know. Yeah, we know we have stress. We all have it, but what can we do about it? There are some things that you can do about it. And I know that the society, the economy and everything is telling us, like, go to the spa, woosah, and that's great. That is great. I'm going to the spa tomorrow, actually. So that's a great thing to do. But what do you do when you can't go to the spa? What do you do when you're at work and somebody's getting on your last nerve? You can't go to the spa while you're at work. Well, you probably shouldn't. Let's put it that way, because that may cause some other stress for you. But some things that we can do is we can utilize our senses to relieve stress. So movement, let's move. How often are you moving? What are you doing for physical activity? Are you walking? Are you running? Are you riding a bike? Are you kickboxing, playing basketball, football? Movement helps to relieve stress. Sight, what do you see? When you're outside or you're going someplace, pay attention to what you actually see. I recently went to one of our locations and I saw a Japanese garden there. And I was like, when did they get this? And it said like it had been there since like 1920 something, but I had never seen it because I was so busy going to where I need to go. I never stopped to pay attention to what was there. So use your sight to see what's going on, and that can help you to relieve your stress. Sound. What do we hear? What are we listening to? What is your playlist sound like? You should have a playlist for your mood. The one playlist when you've had a rough day, the other playlist when you just want to chill, and then the other playlist when you want to work out or something. So you should have different playlists to help you depending on your mood. And then smell. What are you smelling when you're going out or you're in the house? What do you smell? That helps you to minimize your stress. And taste. What about mindful eating? Many of us, especially when we've been during this pandemic, we're eating while we're working. We're not tasting anything. We're not smelling anything. We're just putting the food in our mouth and ingesting it. Take some time and actually taste the food. Taste it without putting the salt, before you put the salt and stuff on it. Taste it and see what it actually tastes like. And then touch. Touch is a big thing right now, especially since we've been in the pandemic where people feel like they have not been able to touch people. If you're a hugger, I'm a hugger. So not being able to hug people has been, a struggle. Just doing the elbow, it only goes so far. But touch, these are just some basic things that we can do to relieve stress using our senses. Now, another thing that we can do as far as our stress is self-care. So what is self-care? Take a moment. I want you to come up with some definitions. How do you define self-care? The first thing I want you guys to know is self-care is not selfish. I'm going to say that again. Self-care is not selfish, but self-care is a way to minimize your stress, to reduce your stress. Self-care is essential. That's the big word right now. Essential workers, essential this, essential that. Yeah, you are essential. Taking care of yourself is essential. And when we get on planes, we haven't been on one in a while, but when we start getting back on planes, they always tell you on the plane to put your oxygen mask on first. And they tell you that because if you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of anyone else. So that is what self-care is all about, taking care of you first, putting your oxygen mask on first. And a simple definition for me, as far as self-care, is giving myself permission to pause. Whatever that means. So sometimes that means I give myself permission to pause and do nothing. And it's okay. I do enough on the other days that one day, it's okay for me to do nothing on that day. It's okay for me to pause and just watch HGTV all day, if that's what I want to do, or pause and just watch sports all day, if that's what I choose to do. But give yourself permission to pause. How do you make self-care a priority? So think about that. What are you doing to take care of yourself? A lot of people always, when I ask this question, they're like, I don't know. I don't have time. I'm too busy taking care of everyone else. That's why a lot of us are having high levels of stress, because we're not taking care of ourselves first. So figure out what you need to do to make yourself a priority. Now, right here, these are just some apps that you can find that are helpful. They're pocket self-care toolkits. So Smiling Mind and Headspace, Stop, Breathe, and Think are some. Some of my favorite ones. Dailyo is another one. Happify, Super Better. All of these are different apps that can help with self-care. And these are good for youth. So if anyone has youth, these are some great ones to share with your youth. And some of them are free, some of them cost, but some of them will allow you to try them out for 30 days. So I strongly suggest you looking into them, or just Google on your phone. Look on your phone, go into your store as far as your app, and look up different self-care apps. And there's tons of them. So there's no reason for us to be out here stressed out when there's tons of resources out there. For those of you who have teens, and during this pandemic, I know it's been hard, but these are some simple tips that I can give you. Maintain a routine. Don't let them just, they're going back to school, or some kids have already gone back to school. So start during this summer maintaining a routine with consistent sleep, activity, and things of that sort to get them ready to go back into the school. Help them to stay connected. Have them talk with people who they feel comfortable talking about their feelings, because youth are not always comfortable talking to everybody. Limit the amount of time you spend talking about and watching news. Watching the news increases your stress level. So if you just watch news all day long, that could be very detrimental to you. So you want to make sure that you are minimizing the level of the amount of time you spend on the TV. Now, this is a little acronym that I came up with in regards to checking in with yourself. So this will help us to minimize our stress. So the acronym I came up with is SELF, SELF. So the S stands for sleep. How often are you sleeping? Like, everybody has a smartwatch, pretty much. Look on your smartwatch, and your smartwatch will tell you how many hours you slept yesterday, and the day before, and the day before. Now, if you look at your watch and notice that you've been operating off 3-4 hours, that may be why you've been increasingly agitated and you have no patience in the last 3 days. So pay attention and check in with yourself to see how you have been sleeping. E is for exercise. When was the last time you moved? When did you get out and do something? This morning I went for almost a 5-mile run. That's what I do to exercise. Or I ride my bike. I have a Peloton, or I have a bike that I ride outside. What are you doing to get your body moving? Because that minimizes your stress. L is for leisure. Yes. You should be having some fun. You should give yourself permission to have some fun. So I'm going to pause right there and ask you, when was the last time you had fun? If you have to think about it and it's been a year, that means it's time to update your fun resume, update your leisure resume. You should be doing something for fun. And then the F is for food. What are you eating? That affects our stress. Are you eating a whole bunch of junk food? Are you going through the McDonald's drive-thru 3 times a week? I know the French fries are good, but do we need those 3 times a week? So self is S is for sleep, E is for exercise, L is for leisure, and F is for food. So check in with yourself. That helps you to minimize your stress because you're doing a routine check-in with yourself to see how you're doing in these vital areas. Some things that you can do, I'm not going to go through them with you right now, but one thing you can do is a brain massage. And I will send this, the slide deck to the Village of Richton Park, and they can share it with you guys. But doing a brain massage when you have high levels of stress is highly effective. Usually when I do this with people, they fall asleep. So it's a great thing to do when you can do it when you're at work. You can go in your office and just do a brain massage. And it's very simple, and it only takes you a few moments. Another thing that we can do is something called mindful line drawing. And it's really simple. You just take an index card or a small piece of paper and a pen, set a timer for 2 minutes, and draw one continuous line without touching or crossing itself. And you do that like for 2 minutes, and you take deep breaths, inhale, exhale, and then you look at your masterpiece at the end. And it helps you to just kind of focus and to get centered again. So what is your self-care today? So these are just some other ideas. There's some things that you can do. Get some rest. Catch up on your sleep. Unplug from social media. Yes, it is okay. It is not going anywhere. It will be there when you come back. Tea, drink some tea, read some books, write a book. During this pandemic, guys, I created an adult coloring book. And you can find it on Amazon. It was just something that I just wanted to do. And it's called Stress Less, Live More. And it's an adult coloring book, but it was something I wanted to do. It's 50 different things that you can color when you're experiencing high levels of stress. Pause, take you a break, get outside and get you some fresh air. Research has shown that just getting outside and getting some fresh air helps to minimize your stress, and connect with your support system. And sometimes, when we're adults, sometimes we just don't feel like adulting. Take your day and just go do something fun for you. Go swing on the swing at the park. Go slide down a sliding board. I went to a indoor trampoline park, and we jumped on the trampolines and we did rock climbing. We had a blast because it was like we were kids again. So do something fun, something for yourself, and take your meds. Like if you're supposed to take medication, that can minimize your stress level if you take your medication as prescribed by your doctor. So let me ask you guys a question. Has anyone picked up a new skill or completed a new task during the pandemic? So yes, it's been stressful, but what new things have you learned during this time? I think it's all about, when I told you at the beginning, it's all about your perception. So my perception is that, yes, this has been horrible. I'm not going to tell you that this has been a peachy cream, because it has not. But I have learned some new things during this pandemic, like Zoom. I had not done Zoom ever before. Zoom, yes, I've learned Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom, Google Meets, WebEx. I've learned all of them, and so that has been a good thing, because now moving forward, we don't always have to be in person, and we can reach more people this way. So what have you learned new? Are you gardening now? Are you focused on, your outdoor space and putting furniture and things out there? So what are some things that you've picked up during this pandemic? Let's look at the silver lining in this. Some of us have learned some new things and got a new skill. Remember, it's okay to not be okay. And if you are not okay and you've noticed that you've been that way for at least 2 weeks, it may be time to seek some help. But remember that it is okay. This is the first time ever that it's okay to not be okay, because most of America, and even outside of America, is not okay, considering everything that we have endured over the last year and a half. I want to share some resources with you, because that's what we need. We need resources. So griefshare.org is a great resource. A lot of people have been experiencing grief during this time. NAMI.org is another great resource. Since we are out here in the South Suburbs, NAMI South Suburbs of Chicago is a great resource. Psychology Today, American Heart Association has tons of free resources, cooking classes, meditation classes, kickboxing classes. Look on their site, American Heart Association, the Chicago location. Employee assistance program. If your employer has an EAP program, check with them. And zencare.co, and then BSCO trauma counseling. I have their number listed. These are just a few resources. But if you feel like you need additional help, check out these resources. There's no reason for anyone to suffer in silence. The last few tips that I have for you is eat healthy, whole foods. And I'm not saying we're going to do that every day, because that's not realistic, but we should be having some hearty, healthy foods every day. Stay active. Stay hydrated. A lot of people are experiencing stress because they are dehydrated. So make sure you stay hydrated. And when I say hydrated, I'm not talking about Starbucks. I am a fan, but that is not the kind of hydration I'm talking about. We need water. You need water. You need water, and you need water. Put some fresh fruit in your water, but you do need to stay hydrated to reduce your stress level, and get plenty of sleep, whatever that means for you. So everyone doesn't need 8 hours of sleep, but you need to figure out how many hours you need so you can be productive and have energy. So one question I want to leave with you is, what will you commit to doing in order to live more and stress less? What's one thing that you are going to do in order to live more and stress less? So think about it. This is about you. So you can hear the things that I'm saying, but it makes no sense if you're just going to hear it and not do anything. So I believe in doing something different. Now, if we want something different, we need to do something different. So what are you willing to do? So I hope that I have given you some tips in regards to minimizing your stress during this time. And I hope that the next time when we get together, we will be in person, and I'll be able to touch you, I'll be able to hug you. We'll be able to do some activities. We could do some coloring like the last time. I've been using bubbles with the little kids, using the bubbles to learn how to exhale. So they inhale, and then they exhale and they blow the bubbles out. They're like, stress is leaving me, it's leaving me. And it's so powerful for the young kids. And then being able to show you guys how to do the brain massage and the mindful line drawing would be very helpful. But I strongly encourage you guys to do something different as a result of this conversation, because like I said before, the number of people that we're seeing in the hospital and the Department of Psychiatry is at an all-time high. People who have never had any psychiatric issues are showing up now because they are depressed, they have anxiety, or they're suicidal. So minimize your stress, because stress, depression, and suicide are all connected. The research is showing that 85% of the people who died by suicide had untreated depression, And then those people who had the untreated depression had high levels of stress. So minimize your stress, check in with yourself, make self-care a priority, and do something for you so that you are not in the emergency room because you had a mental breakdown. So thank you guys so much. I have enjoyed our time together, and I hope that you would do something different as a result of this conversation. So let's focus on stressing less and living more, because we still have the half of this year. So make this other half better than the first half. We can't even control what has already happened, but we can control July through December. So let's make this a great year and minimize our stress and live our lives. Thank you so much. Again, I am Felicia Houston. You can reach me. I have my email address up here if you want to reach me. And again, I have a Stress Less, Live More adult coloring book. You can find it on Amazon, and I hope that you can get it, give it as a gift, and enjoy yourself and live. So thank you, Village of Richton Park. I love the Village of Richton Park. You guys have a great one. Bye-bye.